On the night of January 20, 1990, Soviet troops entered Baku to suppress the movement of Azerbaijanis for their independence, to suppress protests of the people, outraged by the support provided by the leadership of the Soviet Union to Armenia, which ousted hundreds of thousands of Azerbaijanis from their native lands. Armenian aggression was gaining momentum. In response to the fair discontent of the population of Azerbaijan, Mikhail Gorbachev, who led the USSR, decided to carry out a punitive operation.
Если вы хотите, чувствую вину, я выполнял чужой приказ. Сейчас он это...
Since then, I feel guilty. I carried out another order. Now, this man who gave the order refused everything, says Yazov is guilty. I didn't send anyone. I didn't order anyone to shoot. I came to Baku because I was sent. Moreover, not a single Minister of Defense, but also the Minister of Interior, the head of the KGB, and who should be engaged in more internal affairs. Minister of Defense? Of course not. Minister of Internal Affairs. This is his business. My business is to protect the state border, fight against an external enemy.
Это его дело. Мое дело охранять государственные границы, воевать, если уже с внешним врагом, так?
The result of the perfidious invasion of Soviet troops, who seemed to be not in the territory within their own state, but in an enemy country, caused numerous victims of civilians. About 200 people died. More than 600 were injured. The whole way the army was moving was stained with the blood of the dead and wounded. Tanks crashed into crowds of unarmed people. In the ranks of the Soviet army invading the Azerbaijani capital, there were a significant number of ethnic Armenians who were hastily mobilized from the southern regions of Russia. Entering the peaceful city at night, they poured the streets with heavy fire from machine guns and large-caliber machine guns mounted on BTRs. They shot at the windows of the apartments. They crushed ambulances. They didn't spare the old men, women, or children. The military also attacked administrative buildings and civilian ships in the Bay of the Caspian Sea. Fire to kill was carried out in crowded places. They shot at residential buildings near the Salyan barracks, where retired officers lived mostly. On January 19th, just before the attack, the power unit of Azerbaijan television was blown up, followed by complete cessation of radio and television broadcast in the republic. The population of Azerbaijan was deprived of the right to receive information. The military and political action was a blatant aggression and crime against the Azerbaijani people, committed by the leadership of the Soviet state and personally Mikhail Gorbachev, in connection with the bloody tragedy committed by Soviet troops on January 20, 1990 in Baku. Heydar Aliyev spoke at the permanent representation of Azerbaijan in Moscow the next day, demanding to punish the organizers and perpetrators of the crime committed against the Azerbaijani people. And naturally, it was not possible to remain indifferent to this event. I came here to be here at the permanent mission, which is a small piece of Azerbaijani land in Moscow, to express my condolences to the entire Azerbaijani people in connection with the great sacrifices. For 2 years now, there has been an inter-ethnic conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Now, as for the events that occurred in Azerbaijan, I consider them anti-legal, anti-democratic, completely contradicting the principles of building a state of law in our country. Even before the tragic January events, Azerbaijanis living in Moscow tried to inform as many people as possible about what was actually happening in Azerbaijan, about the attempts of Armenian nationalists to annex Nagorno-Karabakh. Neither the newspaper, nor the radio, nor the television reported the reliable and objective information about this. The speech of Heydar Aliyev in Moscow allowed to break through the information blockade.
Нам нужен был лидер, который мог бы быть услышан.
We needed a leader who could be heard, and his name in the world was already well known. And despite all our attempts to bring to the media abroad, our voices were not heard as much as Heydar Aliyev's. Literally, the next day, when we organized a press conference with Heydar Aliyev's participation, up to 2,000 people had already gathered.
И буквально на следующий день, когда мы организовали пресс-конференцию с участием Гейдара Алиевича, уже собралось до 2000 человек.
Information about the mercilessness of the Soviet regime, the killing of civilians in Azerbaijan have been spread all over the world. An attempt by the leadership of the Soviet Union to intimidate people failed. On the contrary, the people united in their desire to restore the country's independence. The dead on that terrible night found rest in the Alley of Martyrs. Today, the Azerbaijani soldiers who fell in the battles for the independence and territorial integrity of Azerbaijan in the Karabakh War are buried here. This is the highland part of Baku, which also has its own history. After the tragedy of January 20th, the Funeral Commission decided to bury the victims of the attack of the Soviet army here. And the Azerbaijani poet Bakhtiar Vahabzadeh would write the following lines. After all, earlier here were buried who gave their lives for the independence of Azerbaijan in 1918. Then tens of thousands of people died. But the Soviet authorities, trying to erase the names of the heroes from the memory of the people, built a park in the cemetery and erected a monument to Sergei Kirov here. The events of January 20th put an end to the Soviet regime and entered the history of Azerbaijan as one of the symbols of the struggle for the country's independence.